Seniorities.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
I'm Linda Hayes, the director at the Senior Center and the Council on Aging. So welcome to our program. With me, of course, is J.D. Miller, our Council on Aging Board of Directors chairperson, thankfully, always joining me. And also we have a guest with us today. So recently we had started to feature, well, we wanted to start featuring some of our programs just to acquaint you with some of the things that we do at the Senior Center. And recently we had Bob Jackman, a long-standing instructor and program that we have had at the Center for Local History, which is very well attended. Today, we'd like to feature something newer, and we have with us Debbie Raymond, a professional career coach, and our facilitator now for our newer, for just about the last year, but more recently since September, our 50 and over Job Seekers Networking Group workshop program. So it's a new program we're very proud of. We are interested certainly in growing the program for those interested, or to have them pass on to others who might be interested as well. But it is something that we're very happy to have. I'm going to let Deb talk a bit more about it, but it is something that we received most recently funding for through the Massachusetts Council on Aging, who selected 16 communities to be involved and present this program, each with their own facilitators. We also have our own Jenny Gerbis, who co-facilitates and helps Debbie out on those occasions when they are meeting. So Debbie, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us and
welcome.
talking about this.
Thank
so
you
happy
very
to
much.
have you.
Happy to be here.
Great. How long, I guess we could start with how long you've been doing this kind of work, or what in fact you have done that kind of matches what you're doing for us.
Okay. Well, my first career was actually in human resources, so I did a lot of looking at resumes, interviewing different people, and matching them with jobs or putting them in positions in other companies. Then I was formally trained at Northeastern through a master's program for college student development and career counseling. So I've been working as a career counselor, career coach for about 15 years. And I've worked with students at the undergrad level, graduate level. I've worked with alumni through Northeastern, Curry College, UMass Boston, and Wentworth Institute of Technology. I also had a program, I don't know if you knew this, I had a program for women transitioning back to the workforce, working with, I'd say half of them were 50 plus, women trying to return into a career. So that, and now I do private coaching as well, and I work with recent grads as well as career transitioners.
Nice, very nice. It's broad. I mean, job seekers, obviously, all ages, and we're glad to note and happy to note that many of them are not only over 50, over 60, and I'm sure you see even more so or older. So you have, in fact, been involved with the over 50 or the older demographic prior, but otherwise it's a little bit new with us, what you're doing?
With this particular group, yeah. I did also have an experience working for a nonprofit where it could be a high school graduate up through a CEO level executive that came through the door. And I would say that more of them that I worked with were in the 50 plus group.
I mean, it's great. They talk about
It
the
can be a difficult
seasons.
transition for people. They're leaving their comfort zone and sort of back to what do I want to do now with my life.
Absolutely.
That's the great thing, really.
Absolutely.
If you're willing to take that on, that can be scary.
It's an opportunity to reinvent. I'll be
Absolutely.
honest, most people do not want to go back to what they did before. They're
Right.
looking to also do something, different. I think the biggest hurdle, I would say, for all of them is just in lacking the confidence to take that step forward.
Right.
And that's where I think this group is one of the really important
benefits.
values of it is that it's a very supportive group. It takes away that feeling of isolation.
Yeah, right.
They meet other people who are in a similar
Right.
situation.
In the same situation, and that's a huge support group.
And they learn to
Bonding.
recognize their value
Right.
and feel more and more that they have a lot to offer and to contribute, and why being an older worker can be, a positive rather than
Absolutely.
a negative. So
Absolutely.
And maybe how to capitalize on some of that too, which they need to not be afraid to do.
exactly.
Do you think the climate for older job seekers has changed recently, or is continuing to change? Is better, or?
I think it's a challenge.
Yeah.
I think one of the main reasons
Which
it's
it's always
a challenge,
been. So that nothing's changed. It's always been a challenge.
It's always
a different type of
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I would say that that is due to a different landscape and how the recruiting happens, and also with technology.
Yep.
So I think that there is a perception with a lot of employers that people in this population are not going to be to the level of technology that they
right.
need
Still
them to
not
be.
bringing
Right.
the skills.
And, you know, to some extent, there is some truth to that, but there are
Right.
many people who are up to date on technology, and if not, they're very open to learning it.
Right.
And so I think that's the gap that needs
Right.
to be bridged.
Like the bias of you're not up to snuff on this software program is to me sort of ridiculous. I can learn it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I'm comfortable with everything else. I can learn that's unique to your business, and otherwise I fit.
And honestly, technology changes so quickly
Right.
that no one's ever
Right.
fully
Absolutely.
up to
We are
speed.
never
Yeah.
experts.
Exactly. No one's
Yeah.
ever on top of it all.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Always leaving us a little bit
You're
behind.
bringing experienced, mature, professional, dedicated, focused, maybe more so than others, workforce back into play.
Yeah, and I would say, and just to piggyback on that, that they also bring a really strong work ethic.
Yes.
Which is huge.
Yes.
And just even working, I worked with so many employers through all the different roles that I've had. I have a pretty big network that I continue to work with. The one thing you hear a lot of is, and I would say it goes to a lesser, younger generation, is needing the communication skills, the ability both orally and in writing, and that is something that I think that this population brings. That is of really strong value, and they're able to build relationships with people, and I think that that speaks, really a great contribution.
That comes
they
from, over time and with experience and
Right.
obviously
Exactly.
That's great. That's great.
So let me back up to when does the networking group meet? How do you give us some nuts and bolts on that?
Okay, so we meet every second and fourth Wednesday from 10. Well, the program runs from 10:30 to 12:30. Our doors open at 10 at the library in Scituate.
Okay.
We are very thankful to have that space. It's a great opportunity for us and for the patrons of the library. It helps us promote our program, and they've been a great resource for us. There's also a lot of resources that the people who participate can use at the
Sure,
library for their
right,
job
like a
search
computer.
effort.
So you're downstairs in the big
The community room.
downstairs.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're in that room. Our doors open at 10, so people can come in earlier if they want to have a chance to just network casually with other members or myself or Jenny. And we extend it from 12:30 to 1 to continue for people to be able to network, or if they have questions they want to ask me one-on-one, we offer that as well.
Okay. So what happens between 10:30 and 12:30?
Okay, so between 10:30 and 12:30, we start with doing introductions. So it's an opportunity for, especially the first or second meeting, people to get to know each other, and that's where it just right away begins that people start to network because they hear what someone has
Right.
done. Oh, I know this person
Right,
that
who-
works at a
who
company.
worked at that
Maybe
company,
I can
similar to
help
that.
you.
Right, exactly.
So it starts right off the bat, but it's a chance for people to do that. I'll go over any updates I have to say, here's a job fair that's coming up, here's a great YouTube I saw, something that is relative to the career effort.
Okay.
And then other people have that same opportunity. I'll have someone come in, one woman came in and said, after the last meeting, I attended a meeting with the South Shore Women's Business Network. It was
Right.
really helpful. So it's a chance for her to tell other people why she found it helpful. So it's a very casual conversation.
Yep.
We try to set it up so it's conversation.
Yep.
And then from there, each week we'll have a different focus that relates to career, whether it's assessment and tapping into what you think you want to do, writing a resume so it's going to make it through that applicant tracking system, or
Which
how
is
to,
all electronic these days, looking for keywords.
Yep.
You don't get a personality connection yet. It's all black and white.
So
So you've got to fight through that to get to the phone call that gets to a conversation.
absolutely, and what we emphasize is because of that, what you really want to do is focus on making a connection with someone who's either connected to the company or connected to someone
True.
who's connected, so that
You can make a personal connection.
you
not
get
a-
human eyes on your resume.
Right.
But we'll spend about an hour, hour and a half on a certain topic. I usually have some type of PowerPoint presentation to go with that. We'll bring in someone from the outside who maybe works in human resources for a company, or a local business partner, to talk about what they offer or to give their advice on how they evaluate a resume
Right,
or
how
an
they,
interview.
this is what our process is, this is what we go through. We may be different from other businesses, but this is what we do.
Right. So we'll do that. And then we also spend some time, depending on what the particular topic is, having something interactive where the participants maybe break off into small groups. They may talk about, a mock interview style where they work with each other to ask each other questions that would come up in an interview. So it's a mixture. And at that point, we close it out, and then it's an opportunity for people to meet individually.
Okay.
So one of the values is the sort of intense single topic every week, so they really get to work with that topic for a good amount of time.
I'm curious, do you target certain industries or even certain businesses that you found have been receptive? Or maybe that's not yet on the horizon, but...
Well, I look at a number of things. I look at who's in my wheelhouse that I can invite in that I think might be receptive, also geographically, who may have the time to come in. And then I look at who's in the mix of the group.
Right.
And I try to bring someone in who may speak to what they're looking for. But I can say that overall, the industries that tend to be more friendly towards the older job seeker is in government, it's in healthcare, and it's in education. So I look at those.
Healthcare in particular, I remember being at a meeting and hearing a lot of them having either come out of or interested in getting into the broad field, which, ironically is really aging in general, and appreciating that of them. And even organically, the participants start to help themselves or each other. I guess I want to say more so. They may become friendly. They might have some things in common. They might, outside the group or outside the meeting, work together.
I think when that happens, when and if that happens, that's wonderful.
They do.
That's a huge benefit in a lot of different ways for people.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the goals of the group is so that people can have a like a partner in this that they feel like they can call. I've had many of the members tell me that they met for coffee. I've been at a career fair where I'll see some of them coming in together. So I think that they are trying to find someone as a good resource that they can pair with, and that happens. Which is great. It's nice to see.
I mean, put yourself in a job seeker's position. If you're at home, the house is quiet, you're banging away on the computer and maybe making phone calls that are going to nowhere but voicemail. You're not talking to anybody.
Right. It's isolating.
It's very isolating and frustrating because you're not seeing results.
Right.
So having a colleague that you can meet for coffee and even swap notes or swap frustrations helps relieve some of that and get you to move forward again. Okay, now I'm energized because now I've downloaded and I vented to my friend, fellow job seeker, and now I'm going to go back and
And one of the things
it's tough.
that we talk about in the group is that you shouldn't just be sitting at your computer applying online. That it should be a comprehensive effort. So coming to this, going to other areas where we have our group, going to other networking opportunities.
You kind of got to get out.
Breaks it up.
Yeah, you
You
got to
really
get
And
out.
keeps
Do
you
that.
invigorated
Exactly.
and stimulated for the effort that it takes.
Exactly.
It
You got to
is.
recharge the batteries.
And
a
that's
little bit.
with any age person.
That's true of everybody, because I think it's, you can hide behind the computer
Right.
and say, oh, I spent 5 hours,
5 hours today.
I applied to 15 companies, and I'll always tell people, you could go to one meeting for an hour and connect with someone who can help you into a company that you're interested in, and that may be what gets you the job over that 5-hour effort
every
of
day,
filling out
after day, after day.
applications.
Right,
So
absolutely, right.
it does make a difference. It absolutely does.
Do you find with our older job seekers, I mean, there's so many reasons people are continuing to work longer. Some of it is because they like it and they want to continue.
Absolutely.
They want that opportunity
maybe
to learn something new that often you can only do in a job. And just to continue to be marketable for as long as possible.
Active,
we have lifelong learners,
marketable.
and we encourage that. Always learn something new. Do you find that that's been the case with our groups or the people that we've been?
Yeah, I have a mixture, and I'll always tell people, especially if they're transitioning, that it's often not a bad idea to start by volunteering someplace so that you're getting into a schedule, you're checking something out and learning new skills, or doing it part-time, because when someone transitions back to work, or maybe they're going for the first time if they've been at home raising a family and so forth, you're not the only one who's in transition. Your family's in transition, your friends are in transition, and everybody's getting used to now your time is not as available. So, and it's also a way to just get used to being back in the workforce, you know, kind of going into the shallow end first.
Right, and also maybe checking that box of I did something productive today.
Right, and I think for your resume, just even being able to say that, you know, you're volunteering. So, and I tell people, it's not always, you know, that you got paid for what you did. Employers want to know you have that skill. And if you've done it successfully in different areas, you're still demonstrating your ability. It doesn't necessarily matter that you were paid for it, it's that you have that skill.
Right. Right?
Now, some of the topics that you do bring up, I don't know if you want to name any in particular that are interesting or most interesting, or, you know, seem to be something that our older workers do need, or older job seekers need more than other things. I mean, the elevator speech, for instance. I mean, you need one of those new every few years, don't we, anyway?
You do, and it should be ever evolving.
Yes,
and I really had to think about it when you asked me, tell me, you know, how long you've been doing this, and how much do I say, and which things do I bring in? So everybody practices.
So remind me, how long should a good elevator speech be? 30
Well,
seconds,
30
if I remember
seconds.
right?
30 to 60 seconds,
Okay.
I would say, because especially for older workers, you may have more to say.
Yeah.
Where people, I think, err in doing it is they feel this need to start from the beginning of their and give their work history, when really you should start from where are you right now, and then bring it in as you discuss where you are right now. That's relevant.
Something new already.
That's relevant and focused, because when someone says, you know,
true.
tell me about yourself, or you're just doing your introduction,
Right.
you always want it to be in terms of what it is you're looking for, what it is that they're looking for. How are you matching that?
Stand out. That's a good. That's
And you don't
question.
need to go
Right.
further back than 15 years on your resume.
Okay.
In fact, we recommend that you don't. So that's
Oh, how
something that
sad.
seems to, and people struggle with it. People struggle with it. But again, it's 15 years further back, it's not as relevant.
Well, you know, thinking about that first job that used to take up this much space, and then you'd pare it down and pare it, and then you just mention who you worked for. You know, now it's gone.
Then it's off the resume.
No, it's gone.
Exactly. But they appreciate that we spend time going over LinkedIn, because I think that's a huge resource for people, and not everybody is comfortable
And that
or
is
knowledgeable
more of a
in
new
that.
skill.
So we do that, and I think the interviewing also, that process is something that they like to feel more comfortable with.
How to address certain questions, we do deal with that. We do. That's great. That's great. A comfort level with who they are and what, you know, what they're going for now, I guess. What is the range, age range that we've been dealing with in our program, or if you know the other communities doing this? Have they seen the high end, you know?
I think in our group, you know, it's 50 to 59 and 60 to 69. You know, there's a handful of people who come in, you know, that are 70, and not, as you say, some people just they're looking to be, you know, somewhat retired, but they still want to do something.
Right.
So, you know, it's a good resource for them as well. But I also think that when people come in and they're networking with each other, it's building ideas for them of, you know, what the possibilities can be.
We have had success stories. We have had people leave the
Like
program after
I
weeks or
thought about
months.
this, but I haven't done anything, but now you're telling me you're doing it, and maybe I should revisit that thought and move into that direction, or whatever it is. Right?
Yeah, I think it's helpful, you know, to have that resource of people to discuss it with, and we talk about, you know, ways to tap into what you may want to do. The thing is right. So right now, the data that we have is that it takes about 7 to 8 months for someone in that population to get into a job. So given that our program's relatively new, I mean, we have had some success stories. I would say the success stories that we have probably were more for people who started in the summer.
Sure.
And then, received offers in the fall, so, but we have had a couple people who have, successfully.
Good. Good. Actually, so changing subject a little bit, the labor force is relatively tight these days. Have you found that that's been a help in Massachusetts in terms of employers looking to hire, and they're not a huge supply out there, or as opposed to historically?
Well, it's somewhat of a double-edged sword. There are employers, that have big workforce needs. Again, it's the willingness for them to look at that population as a viable workforce. And,
it's a macro question, and you're dealing with individuals that are micro questions.
And bringing that together. I'll also say, I think that a lot of people in this population, they're getting employed, but some of them are underemployed, and that's showing a number as being employed, but it may not be in the area that they wanted, or it may not be for the length of time that they would like it to be. Because some people will end up taking contract work. Some people go part-time.
I mean, that's okay. I mean, maybe it's not ideal, but it's a step forward.
Oh, I think it's good, because I think they're getting training, they're in a position, and they're making themselves current, which is what they need to do. I think what would be really, really helpful is if more companies would be open to the idea of offering, an internship, externship for older workers, like they do for college students. Exactly. And there are companies who are offering it. There are not as many in Massachusetts, but it's slowly evolving. So I think the more that opens up, the better that it is going to be for everybody.
I mean, don't you think an insightful company?
There are progressive companies.
I always think this. And there are not enough of them, but an insightful company would say, I've got a labor pool here that's experienced, mature, going to be dedicated. We're going to give them the same learning and training that we were going to give a 20-something. And we've got a mature individual as an employee. Like, why wouldn't we be looking there? And as opposed to, we want to start them fresh, and so we can train them. They don't stay.
Right.
So this market's going to stay. This market's going to leave. So connect those things to your workforce, and bring in the mature professional.
Right. I think the workforce now is a lot more fluid. People aren't staying in their positions as long, and people who are in this age group, they tend to be more company loyal.
Yes.
So
so an insightful company, a progressive company, should be thinking of that as an answer to their labor pool. Not at the exclusion of other things, but there's a significant benefit here.
I think there is a lot more focus in that direction right now, because they're realizing there's been a lot more in the media about the older worker and what can be done to help the labor pool and help this population of people move towards employment.
Yeah.
So it's a new year. We're hoping for the best.
2019, away we go.
And we know there's many reasons that people are out there looking. I mean, you have, I'm sure, from the participants who have engaged with us, they may want to work, they might have to work, they might want the transition, they might have been forced into the transition. I can recall my laid off at 59 after being with the same company since college.
Right.
And that's
dramatic, because there was never any history of change.
Plus, it's you're dealing with a loss, and this is something that we talk about too. Is that when you've been laid off from a company, you go through a grieving process.
Yes.
That's been kind of like your family and what you've known for as many years as you've been doing it, and it takes time to unpack that and then be able to move forward.
Yep.
That's a nice way to describe it. It did, and it took a couple of years, but then, nicely enough, and yes, it was through a connection, but he got a really super job a little different. He was an electrical engineer, but and they wanted him forever. Do you know what I mean? He went from full-time to, even when he wanted to go to Florida, a little part-time. Please come back and work 2 days a week. Do you know what I mean? It was really, you almost had to say, okay, at 72, I think I'm done. But, you know, he really could have continued for as long as he wanted to and was able.
That's
so
the
that
ideal.
was real. That was the ideal. He was very lucky.
Story.
But he did, you know, he had to wait a little bit, and he had to unpack, like you said. That was a tough one.
And it was the transition is
so
not easy.
I did see that.
Transition is not easy in that scenario.
Yeah, it's feeling that loss and then losing your confidence and then trying to build that as well. So there's a lot of different factors involved.
It does, you know, it also underscores the whole aging well. For some people, it isn't about having endless free time. It's about contributing, and it's about staying connected, and it's about, you know, really having something
feeling productive,
in your life, feeling productive in those days. So, you know, it really becomes a necessity. One of the reasons I think that we were selected through the Mass Council on Aging to offer this program was because of our new status, sort of as promoting age-friendly. And, you know, we're really still in the initial stages for that, but this program really does tie in with that in terms of recognizing, respecting, honoring, addressing the needs of older adults, but in this case, older workers, and really trying to advocate for them and help them have the right tools in the toolbox for continuing in that vein. So I thank you, I really do, for being part of this and helping us really to promote that in Scituate and beyond, because
I was going to say,
not a lot of...
does the Scituate group connect with other groups?
Some of them have gone, and I encourage them to do this because, as I said, it should be comprehensive. There is also a site in Marshfield that
they alternate
switches
with
off at
Halifax.
If someone wants to drive, there's another one in Barnstable. But we are really
geographically
the one on the South Shore, because I believe the next one going north is Newton. So there's a lot of communities that we are connecting with now for you know, to say that this is our program and, you know, please join us.
So we are starting to increase a little bit of our marketing or publicity, so it was recently in the Ledger, and I think we've had calls that are from that area, from Quincy or Braintree, willing to come to Scituate, which is great, fine.
Yeah, and it's complimentary, just to make that clear. This is just a free...
I was going to ask, is there a cost?
Free opportunity. No, it's no cost. It's backed by a grant through the Mass Council.
We have a budget through MCOA for supplies and a little bit of the marketing that we do. So, no, there is no cost at this point.
And what's your capacity? Are you jammed? Is everyone welcome? Do you...
Well,
I'm
now
sure some
everyone
meetings
is
are
welcome.
problem to have.
I'm sure some meetings are fluid. Some people can show and some people can't, but...
Right, and we have had different people throughout the course of the meetings. We are not to capacity right now.
Okay.
And you know, they do cap it at a certain point, because if you get to too high a number, then
work.
you don't have the ability to really do what your what your goal is.
We could make another choice. We could add a day or
Right.
you know, add another week, I should say, alternating if we needed that, or find another location.
Right. I mean, you want the group to be collegial, friendly, interactive, supportive, help them bond, etc. And too big of a group loses that ability. So if we get more of a demand, a greater number, we will answer that need.
Sure. And I mean, I think up to this point we've had anywhere from 8 to maybe even as high as 15.
Yes.
In that range.
Yeah, and I'd say on average our meetings were probably for our group about 11 people. But we were newer. We just, you know, we started officially in September. So we're hoping that we are building.
I mean, that range is probably pretty good.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a nice
Because if you got to 25, it'd be too big.
You just structure it differently.
Yeah.
I think you just run it differently, but it's been a nice experience the way it's been now. And you know, if we grow to double our size, we'll look to adjust how we do it.
Another session, right?
So it had started for the fall, took a little hiatus for a few weeks for the holidays. Starts up again January 23rd, and then the 2nd and 4th weeks of each month into May. And then there'll be another hiatus, and then hopefully we can continue the program.
And if people have questions or want to reach you, how do they do that?
Well, we would have them call the senior center, actually.
Okay.
So there are flyers. There's a flyer at the library. We have them at the senior center. It is in our newsletter, so I encourage you to look that up, which I'll talk about, but also, and in the paper. But our senior center phone number, contact, either just generally, and you can speak to me, Linda Hayes, or Jenny Gerbis, the co-facilitator. And if you did want to have a conversation with Debbie, we can connect you with her as well through the senior center. So our general number, 8722-545.
781-545-8722.
You can also go on the website for the Mass Council on
Thank you.
Aging if you want to see a little more information and register.
And I don't know if that is in our newsletter, so I will say this once, but call if you have the question, but www.mcoaonline.com and then 50 plus. So there is a menu that would guide you to that, but /50 plus if you were typing that into the path. Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah, and we hope to see all of you there for our first meeting. Don't feel as though if you weren't able to make the first meeting, people come in at different points in time.
Exactly.
And then some people will, come back because they're still in job search mode, but maybe they missed one of them. It changes every week depending on who the participants are. So, more people come in, and then it's a greater opportunity to network with even more people.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah.
Is there anything else? Did we go through your
Checklist?
checklist?
Yeah.
Is there anything else
I think so.
we can add? You can add? Did we cover what we needed to cover here?
I think we did hit most things, yeah.
I mean, I think it's great. I think people, the workplace benefits by an experienced professional getting back into it. The job seeker needs, the job seeking process is not easy. It can be excruciatingly frustrating and isolating.
Yeah.
And so this is a way to help expand the network, relieve some of the stress and frustration, give yourself something to do on a Wednesday, as opposed to sitting at home.
Right.
I'm going to go out to the 50 plus.
Yeah.
The options?
I mean,
it's a very supportive,
believe me,
nice group.
Then you come back home and you haven't just gone through the monotony of the day, week after week after week potentially, with looking at a computer screen. You've gone out and had a meeting and maybe set up a meeting for a cup of coffee with somebody you met at the job seeking group.
Yeah, and I think it energizes people.
Absolutely.
And I think it just gives them a better sense of value.
Correct.
In recognizing what they have.
Correct.
I would also add to it isn't small. I mean, MCOA picked it up. AARP is sponsoring and promoting this program throughout the state. And I guess we probably want to thank Susan Kelly, who brought this to MCOA and was able then to distribute this among the communities that they have funded through one of the state incentive grants, I believe. So
And
really
she's a
it's
Scituate
recognized.
resident.
And she is also a Scituate resident and had started it with us last year just to sort of test the waters, and then we went to MCOA for the funding after that. So really, I think it's something that's just going to continue to grow, and we're happy to be part of that, for sure.
We want people to stay networked and stay productive. So.
All right. Thank you, Deb.
Great. Thanks for
thank you.
having
I
me.
think that's good. So, and then in closing, we will hope to be publicizing, as many of you know, working on the Senior Center new building project. So we are planning some public information sessions to take place toward the end of January into early February, and continuing up until town meeting, of course, which is scheduled for April 8th. So we do want to keep you informed and apprised, and give you all the information you need, and we will continue to do that. And I mentioned our newsletter, so it's chock full of the programs that we are offering for January and February. It comes out again in March, for March and April. So there are ways to find that if you don't get it in the mail, but simply call us and we will put you on the mailing list as well if you prefer. Otherwise, you can pick it up at the Senior Center, the library, the town hall.
If you have an email, you can register and be able to access it online.
Email would be great. Give us
Email
a call. We'd love to have that.
Email
And
connections
we
for
do have a
people.
Facebook page, so please consider friending us. Scituate Council on Aging is all you need to know there as well. So thank you for listening. All right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Very good.
All right.